Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom Bust channel, Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host Terry, and today, look, this is for my real Boomer Bust fans. I need y'all in here. I mean, look, if you new and all that, you're welcome to stay, but I need to tell y'all right up top, I recognize there's a ton of Caleb Williams talk right now. And to be honest, I understand this discussion falls right in line with a lot of that. But this is not that. This is not the hot takes. This is not the training camp hot takes and all that, blah, blah, blah. I need my real OG fans in here for this convo. I know you've seen a lot of content coming out of the channel. Please go support that stuff. Share that around. Please, please, please. So many people talk about football, but people don't want to support the film. It's crazy to me. So anyway, I say this for my real people because y'all will know that what I'm saying is not brand new. This is not me bouncing off what everybody else is talking about. These are things that I've been talking about this entire time. And so I feel like all my OGs, y'all appreciate the convo. And like I said, I fully acknowledge there's a lot of Caleb talk right now. I was literally just listening to something. I was listening to something earlier today and all that good stuff. So with that being said, I want to talk about my concerns about Caleb, the quarterback, Ben Johnson as the head coach, and then their marriage together. So with Caleb, for me, and again, for those that have been around, you know, I said last year after watching, let me take it back before that. During the draft process and everything, I always tell you, I'm evaluating tape. I'm not in there with these people. I don't know. If I talk to somebody that knows, and I've gotten more connections since Caleb's been drafted. If I talk to somebody who knows, or if I watch something enough, then I kind of get a feel. You know, I'll make an observation, but I'm not going to make a declaration. And I said Caleb, just kind of who he is and how he's gone about it. Everybody knows he's a different type of dude. Okay, cool. So then we get to training camp, Hard Knocks. And that's when I said, okay, now I have extended interactions seeing this guy. And what's one of the first things that I said? Bonus points if you remember. I was like, oh, he's an only child. That makes sense. And not just kind of my perception, because I'm kind of into that when meeting new people, but his interactions and the way he's going about everything. Because we obviously know he's not the football is my way out type of person. And to be honest, most quarterbacks, top like fledged quarterbacks, are not. Especially these days where you got all these, not really AAU in terms of football, but you got all these Nike camps and blah, 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 blah. So you, and with NIL money, you have all this access to people, to a team to polish you and get you ready. And to me, it's no different than Eli having Peyton and getting ready, or even Peyton is no different to me than Andrew Luck. A number of different quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, all these people who knew like they've been on a trajectory to be a number one pick since they were young. All of them kind of have that kind of thing. So you knew that's who he was, but then learning he's the only child and then watching his interactions with the team on Hard Knocks, I told you, I was like, you could tell he is like the little brother. And obviously he's young, but he's like a little brother. That's because he didn't have no siblings, and that plays a big part into it. So I think those combination of personality traits where he's a type of guy that is very scripted and molded. Yes, he took some swings, which I honestly, I still commend him for, when he was trying to do some different things with the contract and, you know, him and his father and his team or whatever. And so obviously he's not afraid to be different, but at the same time, he's still polished. He's very rehearsed. And I hate to say this, but everybody, you know, one of my traditions in the draft season is I end the draft right before the draft. I watch Draft Day, the movie. Love that movie. He's Bo Callahan in terms of like kind of like personality. Now I'm not saying none of his friends went to his birthday party and all that. Not or that he gets rattled after he gets sacked. This isn't a football thing. He's Bo Callahan to where again, I'm the number one pick. Everything's like tailored for me to go a certain way. And if it doesn't, then like, oh crap, I might freak out. And so, like I said, I mean, just how he went about his business. I'm supposed to be no one pick. Okay, I'm only meeting with the Bears. Like, I'm only, and a lot of people only work out for, at this time and all these good things. And now that we've had, again, like that sample size to see how he interacts, how he responds to adversity, I don't think, obviously, he's like some players that completely crumble. But like I said, this is just my concern, because if I didn't think there was hope, I would have a different conversation. But my concern is that eventually he will go the way of the football player, a lot of times quarterbacks, that just can't handle not being successful. And they can't handle adversity. And so, yes, we bring in this training camp and some of that context. And people are talking about a lot of stuff, like the whole thing with the passing in the net, like him not making a pass into a net. Is that important? No. His reaction to it, is it everything? No. Is it something? It's something. And it's something because it falls in line with a pattern. That's why I say, especially when I don't know or meet these people, I'm not going to sit here and say definitively this is this. Even in real life, even with people I do know, like I got to give it time to see if the pattern continues. This has continued to match up with the pattern he has. And when he's in front of the camera, again, feels very rehearsed, a little robotic. I've said this before. And he's not going, but that frustration kind of seeds. It's like you can see it almost on the surface of his face, even if he's telling you all the right things. And so he's going to give you that answer. He's real PR trained. He's going to do the best he can. But we see his actions, his unfiltered actions. And for anybody, which hopefully, my OG fans, y'all understand this is a legit convo. But for anyone that's trying to call me a hater or say I don't know what I'm talking about, you just look no further than Ben Johnson. The coaching staff came in and said, yeah, we got to get that body language together. Now, I'm not the biggest body language police, because that's not my thing. But that's what the team or the coaching staff felt strong enough about it to mention it to everybody, and then especially to the people who they felt it wasn't that's not what you do. I mean, shoot, what's his name? Cam Newton got dragged for years over one moment. So of course the stuff Caleb did, they're gonna go crazy about. And again, I'm not really on that train, but if you think his reactions outside, like in the actual moment, when it's not like in front of the camera training or a press conference, if you think those reactions don't line up to a pattern, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you just don't know people. But he's every bit of kind of my first perception of him. And so when you look at his background, you look at his journey, you look at his answers, you look at his interactions with other people, how he responds in the games, it all matches up. So that doesn't mean, like I said, you can't mature and get better. Obviously, as a man, you can mature and become, stronger mentally and shoot. What is he? How old is Caleb? Is he even 25 yet? Did that, did the front part of the brain even fully develop? I don't know, but you can grow. You can grow in a lot of different ways. And then obviously as a football player, you for sure can grow. So there's all that. My concern, like I said, really is just, can he handle his self-image being broken? And for those that are not in therapy or not into psychology and all that, your self-image is extremely important. Like how you see yourself on a core level, not what you hope to be, and all the core foundations of who you are. Like your self-image is important. I mean, we could go to one of my favorites, Avatar: The Last Airbender. If y'all watch that, Zuko, when he helped Avatar, his whole self-image was destroyed. He had to rebuild himself up. If we want to go some even simpler, Inside Out, when your core, whatever, I forgot what it was, like the core identity parts, like when your self-image of who you see yourself as, and especially with athletes, they're hyper competitive. That stuff really means a lot. I mean, we seen, so let me actually, perfect example I should have used, Boobie Miles, Friday Night Lights. See what happened to him when he thought he couldn't play football no more? That's all he thought he was. So if you believe I'm this number one pick, I'm this top quarter, like the way he was even talking, it's not even confidence, it's not even goal setting, it's like almost a checklist. Like he said, he got exposed. he didn't want to come to Chicago, and eventually, whatever happened, they spun it to him, and he said in his mind, "Okay, well, I could be the first one. I could be the first one to do this. I could be this friend." Like, okay, and then I got these check boxes. Yeah, I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna do this. Now, do I think the whole stat goal is a collaboration of him and Ben Johnson and really trying to just give you a roadmap? Yes, that's not uncommon, but everybody kind of blew that up. But also, I think that's very much in line with how Caleb operates. That checklist. Okay, I'm do this. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like somebody playing Road to Glory on college football or on Madden or something. Like, okay, I'm gonna accomplish this. I'm gonna accomplish this. And like I said, goal setting and all that, people have done it, but I've just felt like for him it was different. It was just the expectation. It wasn't even really a goal. It was just like, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna talk to the media like this. I'm gonna show up to other like Chicago sporting events to do this. I'm gonna say this to fans. I'm gonna portray this. It comes off very rehearsed and robotic and scripted, because to him, his core identity is just franchise quarterback. And so when you have people like that, they're not really living organically. They're not really understanding kind of who they are outside of this image. That is a very, very strong recipe for somebody to snap. And we saw small snaps. Like you can say what you want, but we saw it. Like the whole net thing, the whole way he acted at the sideline. I mean, receivers do it all the time. I mean, well, I wouldn't even say that's more of a self-image thing. That's a bit of a competitive, bit of a divaness, but it's in the same vein. How you react to that. And we saw how he's reacted. And I'm not saying he's the worst ever. I'm just saying the writing's on the wall for this to go bad. But I don't know him. And probably, to be honest, he don't know himself until he gets to that point. And so there's a lot to be said that's not football to how this could, be prevented, and how we could, or not us, but how the team could kind of really project and understand how he's going to deal with those things. But that's not for me to lay out. And to be honest, I have no idea what's being done, what's already been done. So I just, from my observations, that worries me, because we've always been looking for the long-term solution. Obviously, Caleb has no one picking all that. That is the expectation. Is going to be this long-term solution. And look, to me, me, you got to get 50 games, 3 seasons, but that's just not how the league looks at it anymore. And he is in real danger, especially if he has a meltdown to where it could go bad. And to me, that is worse. Like, you get like a Bryce Young who lost confidence, end up getting benched, it just wasn't looking right. We've seen that a couple other places, but if it goes bad and gets worse and you have a full meltdown and you're just like, your character is now in question, that's not only bad for his time here, that's going to be bad for his reputation in the whole NFL. So, and I don't want to, I'm not raising alarms, and I know that sounds real bad, and it could be, but that's my concern. That's just not my prediction or guarantee. That's just kind of what's the writing on the wall. I mean, we knew that he was going to have a transition into an NFL style offense. Some of the people in the sports media, they were not the only ones talking about Jaden Daniels. I was on the same train saying what he was exposed to in LSU with Brian Kelly is going to put him ahead of a lot of these guys, because he had not only to be exposed to more NFL passing concepts, but he had to take on a lot more responsibility. Whereas in USC, Caleb's not playing in a real NFL offense. And so that transition, and now that gets into this whole discussion about Ben Johnson and his offense and what they're doing, and blah blah blah. If you haven't heard, quick wrap up. Ben Johnson said we're feeding him everything. We're overloading him on purpose to see what sticks, what he's able to handle, and then we'll pare it down over time until we get like the core stuff that he's really good at. And so by nature, it's going to be a rough time in the beginning if you think about that. But there's been a lot made, not just Caleb, but everybody, about how they are handling this new system. And that's a separate discussion. That, again, this isn't the hot take train. I'm not really here to get into that, but I am here to say that again, you're creating a situation where you could really, this pressure could burst the pipe, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out quickly. So that's one of my concerns. Ben Johnson so far, he has at least, well, I can say safely, because I've heard him talk about it. I've seen the practice structures and all that. He's very much a taskmaster. He is very much on the details. He's very much like, he's driving these guys hard to be detail oriented, and that's good. That's not what I was expecting necessarily. I don't think there's no one way to coach. Obviously, whatever coach wins, that's the cool thing, is like, oh, Belichick is like this, that's the way to do it. And then people try to be Belichick and it didn't work. And then you get more of a player coach like Sirianni, they won. You got Andy Reid. I mean, there's no one way to do it. So there's that part. But turns out that's just kind of how he is. Now, honestly, just again, from my observation, listening to him, I think that's who he is. I think that's his coaching style. People are very tempted to say, oh, that's how MCDC is, or whatever his name is. That's how Dan Campbell was. And so he's just copying Dan Campbell. First of all, I mean, we did have Hard Knocks and stuff, but I don't know that people outside of like really following the Lions can say for sure that's how he was. And from what I've seen, I wouldn't say he was like this intense. So I don't really feel like he's trying to copy Dan Campbell. I really think this is just how he is. And as a former quarterback, it wouldn't shock me. So he is very much on that. So like people, I don't know. I think that's over dramatized. Moving on to the second unit because the first unit was messing up. Honestly, that's not, the craziest thing in the world, especially in training camp. But doing stuff like that, moving individuals out if you mess up or if you don't got the details right, stuff like that, holding them accountable. And honestly, the way he is the way he's talking to the media about the team is very different than obviously the last regime. Now, I will say this, just a side note. I love how everybody's kissing Ben Johnson's butt. And I'm over here giving him some praise too, but just arbitrarily kissing his butt. Oh, he does this. The last one didn't do that, so this is good. Bro, they do this every time. I don't understand why people don't. Anything you do that the other regime didn't do, they're going to kiss you up for it. You know what? If it's Ben Johnson coming in, Eberflus coming in, John Fox, it doesn't matter. You're different. Oh, he chew spearmint instead of double bubble. This is great. Like, come on, man. But anyway, so it seems like that's the kind of timing that I almost called him Eberflus, that Ben Johnson is on, which is cool. Honestly, I lean more towards that way. I respect that. That's cool. But again, there's no one way to win. My thoughts, my concerns, I should say, and really, honestly, it doesn't matter what your style is. This is always the concern, but especially, I think more so for like the taskmasters. You got, you're not, this ain't college where you are just kind of the end all be all, especially before NIL. You was the end all be all. This is the NFL. So at the end of the day, no matter what you do, no matter how much success you got, you still got owners, you still got fans, and the wins matter. And the money matters, to be honest, at the end of the day, to that too. I mean, it's not, I don't know how much winning allows you to do whatever you want with the quarterback. Like, people want to talk about Belichick and Tom Brady. That was a mutually understood thing between them. Are they gonna have lifelong strife because of it? Maybe, but they understood what they were trying to accomplish together. You don't get to just do that. And so I just, whether it's the quarterback or whoever, it's an owner that you got to answer to. And so what I'm saying is that's the issue. And to be honest, I've seen it on every level. So NFL is even worse, where you want to come in with this hard line stance. This is how we do it. If you mess up, you out of here. You out of here. That stuff sounds good when you're doing it to a rookie. It sounds good when you're doing it in training camp. When it's, week 3 and DJ Moore lines up 2 inches the wrong way, you're not taking him out. You just not. You're not taking him out on 3rd down because he lined up 2 inches the wrong way. You're just not doing that. And so even if you do, so you get in a situation at that point where you got 2 choices. Either you become hypocritical and you don't do it to certain players that got status, or you do it and the team's going to be like, what are you doing? We're trying to win. I mean, you're talking about a league where dudes have done horrible illegal things off the field, and they like, hey, he's here, he's healthy, let him play. People are trying to win because that's what their jobs depend on, their money depends on. And so yes, certain coaches, like I said, you got more cachet where you can have a hard line stance, but it only goes so far. And he's a first year coach who's accomplished nothing. So when you start off that way, it's like, look, if you start off player friendly, it's tough to become hard nosed. So I get that. So when you're hard nosed, it's easier to lighten up a little bit. That's true. But at the same time, when you start your career and reputation off hard nose, you cannot flip it in the season or week to week. You got to lighten up over the course of years. And so that's the thing. He said, like, he's not oblivious. Like, he's not a Greg Schiano. That's one of the worst examples. He's not a Nick Saban going to the Dolphins. What's that dude that from Ohio State that was just with the Jags? That's not who he is. I think he, or at least listening to him, he's aware enough to know this is training camp. We could be a little more hard stance. And again, I'm not there. So if in meetings, he's like, look, right now, some people have spot. That's how I would approach it personally. So if you was level with him, like, look, Caleb's the number one pick. Like, he's going to get more chances. Even if he's messing up, I'm going to correct him. But he's going to get more chances. DJ got a huge contract, whatever. But it's training camp, so we're going to treat this a little more equal. And then when we get into the season, look, those guys got to get ready. If you're starting, we got to get you ready. And so I'm going to coach everybody hard, but it might not be the same. And we've heard many quotes from coaches throughout time that says something similar. Like, I'm going to treat everybody fair, but I won't treat everybody the same. So if you came with that energy, cool. I don't know. I'm not in those meetings. But if you are coming in kind of hardline stance, like this is just how it is, this is the standard. If you're not at the standard, you're not playing. The amount of times you hear that, and I hate the term coach speak, but that is coach speak, especially in the NFL, because contracts come involved, egos from the owners come involved, the fans come involved. Like, how many rookies that a coach probably watching practice and be like, yeah, no, that's not what I want to do. But owner says we losing, we need some excitement, we need to sell some tickets, put in our first round quarterback. Like, that's what happens. It's a business. So that concerns me a little bit. And again, I don't know as much information, but he's different style than I thought he would be. And again, I'm down with it, but look, everything's brand new. It's the honeymoon phase. All that stuff sounds good. That's the thing that be killing me. Like, people be like, oh, that's lame, or oh, this is lame, or players don't care about that. Look, when you winning, all that stuff sound cool. But when you losing, then it ain't so cool. It ain't so fun. So right now, you got nothing to you got nothing to push against you. But once you start losing, then now that's when I'll be curious. Not only that, but I'll also be curious as how he navigates those situations. And again, I think it's perfectly reasonable to be like, this is our first install. We're setting the culture. We're setting the standard. Because he sounds a little bit like Caleb too, to be honest. Like, he kind of sounds like a checklist guy. Like, I'm going to start a dynasty here in Chicago. Most coaches say stuff like that, but he seems kind of like a checklist guy. But either way, it's okay to come in and be like, hey, we're going to hit this thing hard. We're going to push y'all. Cool. But once you start getting into the real nuances of the season, I'm curious to see how he navigates. And so my concern, like, that could go south. First of all, name almost every Belichick disciple. We've seen it go south. And even, like I said, the player friendly, because look what's happening to Mike McDaniels in Miami. He done lost that not lost, but he don't have no control over that locker room. So all the, whatever style you are sounds good when you winning, but when you losing, can you navigate and not completely flip? Because then the player's going to think you fake. Can you really navigate and be authentic? Because that's the player's respect. So I don't know Ben Johnson. This might be his authentic self, and I kind of feel like it is. But if it's not, I just got concerns about how he's going to navigate. And then as far as those two combined, obviously, hopefully you can see where that goes. The fear is you're going to get somebody that doesn't know how to turn the switch off in terms of trying to be a hard nose, and you're going to get a quarterback who is not able to handle that, and this relationship's going to blow up. And once it blows, or if it blows up, I mean, depending how it looks, if everything is bad, Ben Johnson might be on a quick train now. Now, if Caleb is just completely melting down, they might pick Ben Johnson over Caleb. Either way, potential mess coming down the pipe. But again, that's just my concerns. I'm not predicting that. I obviously we got to see a lot more, and I'm hoping for the best, but that's just kind of my concern. So anyway, go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.